So here's the vent pipe. Just bought an extension to go on the pipe. It's a 10-foot pipe attached to the gutter. You can see what I'm talking about. There's a retaining wall right here. So I can take care of the water that runs out of this gutter, but anything that gets between here is going to stay in this channel and ride right down through here. And they've attempted to fix it in the past with that little bit of concrete edging. So it's possible that this will at least help the problem. Here's up on the roof. That one was replaced. They generally don't replace these gas vent pipes. So even though this roof is new, they reused this. So I got a recaulk around here. There's one of the shingles that are damaged. This one here needs to be recaulked. They put new turbines on. They usually do. That's new. That caulk needs to be redone. That one looks fine. That turbine's fine. Those roof boots are fine. You need to check these about every probably 5 years. The thing that wears out on them is this rubber boot right here. And water. Once this starts dry rotting and cracking, water will run down the side of it. You'll start having water stains on your ceiling. If you look up above the house, 90% of the time it'll be right over one of those vents. And then there's the chimney pipe. Chipped all the old caulk off, put new. This is a slip joint. Recaulk all that. Stuff on the shingles, you gotta be careful about ripping that off, but just caulked all the cracks and then sealed around the edge. Also gotta bring more shingles up. Caulk around that one. This one here. And then the chimney leak inside, I believe, was coming from right here. It's another slip joint that the caulk had cracks in, so I recaulked that and then recaulked all the way around the edge. Any seam is a point of weakness, so, and you could see daylight, or could see a gap all the way around that. So and there's the lip. I have no idea why they stuck it underneath there. It's not anywhere else. So back along here. As you can see, it's lifting the shingles up, preventing it from laying down. So I'm just going to go down through there and squash that down. I have no idea why they did that. They did it all across the back. Get to that from the bottom. There's my little hole. Am I put enough? There's a TPS. Got a bit of a hole back there. Hole off of this. I really don't think there's anything. A lot of them put copper lines on that. I'll put a 3/4 all the way down. This is the one that needs to be extended. That is your exhaust. And then there should be 2 pipes in here drilled in the ceiling. And I'll drill a hole for them and bring them down. That way if there's any fumes off this, we'll evacuate. And here's the loose vanity. Just literally sitting on there. Here's the line stud. It runs from the top to the bottom. And the HVAC unit is over in that corner. The outside unit, heat pump. I'm going to cut that tape off. That was just a bulb. Let me tell you, you all know how to replace bulbs. Here's the vent, attic vent. There's the crawl space, or the access to the attic. I'm going to get up here and cut that loose and seal around. I decided to use the same caulk I used on the roof, which is a clear instead of the Expandifoam. The Expandifoam usually makes a big old ugly spot for little stuff like that. If it's a big hole, it makes sense, but not for little stuff. I use the same caulk. Same thing up there. Same clear caulk. It looks a lot better. Like I said, that Expandifoam makes a big old ugly mess. And here's the vent. Just gonna take those 4 screws off. Put the new vent on. Alright, so the fan in here, this is why it's wobbling. This piece here should be tight to the ceiling. So I'm going to take the fan off and tighten the whole bracket up to the ceiling. And that should take care of it. We shall see. Alright, so took the ceiling fan out. And as I suspected, this is an older, like I said, this house was built in the 40s and 50s. The box itself is loose, so it wasn't the bracket. But I did have to disassemble the whole thing because this is a ceiling hugger. And you can't get that cap off without taking the blades off. Can't take the blades off without taking the light off. So I had to disassemble the whole thing. This is, I don't know if you can see that or not. Let's see if I can get it. It is on a slide. So there's a metal bracket that goes up in there and stretches across 2 rafters. And this is in the middle. So I think I can tighten that nut up and get the box more secure. But a lot of these older houses, especially ones with metal boxes, you take this off and you can see this is paper wiring. That whole box will just be held in there with like 1 nail that's bent sideways. So usually on a house this old, you want to put in the proper bracket. It appears that they did. It's just loose. So I'm going to see if I can tighten it up. If we can get that bracket secure, then I can mount the ceiling fan back on. So let me do some fixing. Alright, so there's very little room in the crawl space. In the attic. So finding that is going to be a challenge. What I found to do is get you a metal hanger and shove it up through the hole. And then all you got to do when you get up in the attic is look for that hanger. Now I get up there, I'll just look for a rod sticking up and I'll know where to tighten that at. So, little tricks. Here's the vent in the attic. This bottom comes off the hot water heater. Water heater, I should say. This goes up into this out of the roof. So I'm just going to extend this and push that up to get it at the proper level and to connect this together. So here we go. Alright, I ran into a problem in here. This area has about 6 vent pipes. Well, 3 vent pipes that overlay one another. They laid the new HVAC lines right on top of the old lines, and there's only about 1.5 feet above those vent lines and the roof line to get to this box. So my fat butt's not crawling up there. So there's another way for me to fix this. Since I can't get to it, I'm going to buy a decorative sconce that goes around the ceiling fan and space it down to take up the gap and tighten the box up. And then I will tighten the fan to that That should space it down enough to tighten that box up. You're going to run into stuff like this, especially in older houses. They didn't make them back then that had tons of area to work in the attic. And I unfortunately am not a little guy, so I can't even get to it. Even if I could get over there, I would almost have to undo the existing new lines to get to this. So it's really almost, it's not worth the hassle to get to it and tighten it up. So I'll show you how I'm gonna do that, but I can't get to this one right now. I did get the exhaust pipe fixed off the water heater. Got this glued down. All I did was undo the P-trap down here. That right there is the P-trap. This white thing right here is the P-trap. So I undid that, which allowed enough. Usually there's enough wiggle on your water lines to move it around. Just lifted it up enough to caulk around the top of the vanity and set it back down. I am not going to replace this TPS line. That's actually 1/2-inch copper. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not 3/4, but it still will suffice. It's not like if that was plastic, then I might say we need to replace it. But considering it's copper line off the TPS, I've seen a ton of them done that way and haven't had any issues with them. I did go ahead and drill a hole back here for my drain. I've got to get an 1-inch piece of pipe and some elbows to take this drain pan down. And I'm getting ready to cut a couple holes up here to put these vent pipes in. That way there can be some exhaust in here, and that's required. So let me get it at that. Let me see if I can show you what I'm doing here. I basically just use that as a guide. Made my circle there, and there'll be 2 right beside one another. Shoved up through the ceiling right here. And they just hang down like that. That way if there's any fumes in here, not exhaust fumes, but fumes at all, it goes out these pipes instead of, it's just a safety precaution. There it is. It'll be prettier, but it don't make a whole lot of difference. It's just, I said this is the exhaust here. So the exhaust from your gas burning in your hot water heater comes out of this pipe. These pipes here are just in case you do get a gas leak down here. It'll try to evaporate up, go out through those vent pipes up into the attic. So. Alright. I went through and pushed some of the insulation up, and this is full of mice and rat droppings. That is exactly why I don't like using this crap. Some of these spans, they make rods for 16-inch centers and 24-inch centers. I'm going to have to buy the 24s and cut them down because the 16-inch rods are not working. Which is why this insulation is falling down. Some of these spans aren't on 16 centers. I did make it all the way back to that corner. And look at that spot. Right there, that white line sticking down is where our drain pan for our water heater is going to go. So I've got to come out there and then tap out this wall. You can see the droppings everywhere. I have, and it's not just low-income houses that this happens to. I've been in $500,000 homes that have the exact same problem. Anything with a crawl space and insulation is going to have mice issues. And you have not lived until you have been underneath the house and you're on your belly in the dirt, facing rat turds, and your back's rubbing against insulation and you feel a rat crawling on the insulation. That will make you come alive. So here is a spot that the inspector called out. They have actually redone this. So you can see where they put in. This is where the new bath is in the back of the house. You can see where they've spliced it in. It appears that all that is newer. And they have done all the splicing and replacing. So I don't see any new rot. I can see where they put new 3/4 inch plywood in. I don't see any new damage. So I'm gonna tell her to we'll have to keep an eye on it and see if they have further issues. Because this lady's a single mother. She's wanting things nice, but she doesn't have a big budget to come in and rip stuff out. So I'm trying to help her out best I can. So that was an issue at one point in time, but like I said, based off the plumbing work in here, and you can see this has cast, and it's a smorgasbord. Most of these older houses are. There's PVC spliced into cast. I just stepped over a whole pile of cast pipe that's been ripped out over the years, so these older houses have all kinds of problems. There's some knob and tube wiring over on that side. But I'm going to have to get some longer rods, and we'll have to come back to this one, but I'll show you how much we got done when we get back in the house. Alright, so let me get in a room with some decent light, and we'll go through what got accomplished today. What I didn't show on video, I'll come back and show you what I did. Some of this stuff I was in an area where it wasn't good to shoot. So, seal around the vents and openings on the roof. I did that first thing. Didn't replace the damaged shingles. I forgot those shingles at home. The shingles on the right rear. Actually, what that was, let me show you. They installed the trim upside down. So the trim piece right here was up like that. So it pushed the shingles up. It should have been flipped around and put in like that. That way it would have angled the shingles down. It acts as a flash guard, drip edge, for the roof. And they, for some reason, for that 12-foot section, they installed it backwards. So I just cut it out, and then the shingles will eventually lay down. Extension the vent pipe, I showed you I did that one. Water heater drain, I've got that stubbed out. I do not have it connected yet. TPS line I'm not worried about. I'm not going to replace that. That's a copper line. There's nothing wrong with the way it's connected today. So some of these things, if you don't show up and actually look at them, you bid them to where you lose on some and you gain on others. So like the ceiling fan in the kitchen turned out to be a much larger problem than I thought. So I'll make up for that and some of these other ones. I filled the gap in around the HVAC lines. I forgot to remove the unused dryer vent and the crawl space door, so I need to fix that. That area is dry, so there's no problem there. That's the one I showed you underneath. I still got to paint and seal underneath the carport. I sealed the hole in the soffit. I didn't put the French drain in. All this estimate was to put a 12-inch, or to put the extension on the drain pipe, and I got that done. I need to caulk the cracks in the foundation. I got to find that faucet. I need to bring water lines for the washer. S-trap wasn't a problem. That was just a note for hers. Nothing for me to do. That was nothing for me to do. See, I only charged $10 to balance the ceiling fan because I thought it'd just be a balancing kit, which is just a metal weight you put on the end of one. That was one I did not look at before I bid. And of course, like you all have seen from the previous footage, that one's going to turn into a little bigger job. I've probably spent more time screwing with that ceiling fan than I have anything on this list. Master bathroom bulbs, that was just one light bulb. That's around the chimney, and that had a leak, or a crack in the a crack in the chimney that I sealed up. Should take care of that. That's the hole in the closet. Fixed that. Vandy top. I liquid nails this in so it's not moving. The insulation in the rafters, that one's going to be a little bigger job than I thought. But like I said, some of these, you make up the difference. So that I didn't spend 5 minutes sealing that hole up. And I used the caulk that I bought for the roof, so I'm not really out anything there. So these kind of make up for one another. Gaps and foundation vents, I got to bring some metal screen for that. I did do this, and then that one's done.